All right, welcome to Bridgewood Church Online. And listen, that is what happens after being quarantined for 8 weeks. You know, sometimes you just have to find a reason to laugh and to celebrate and to find joy in whatever circumstances you are in. So listen, we are so glad that you are joining with us today. Why don't you let us know where you're watching from? Just go ahead and put that right there in the comments. And listen, if you're new, we would love for you to check out bridgewoodchurch.com. And there are so many more resources and information for you and your family about Bridgewood Church. Well, listen, we miss you so much, and we cannot wait until we get to see you very soon. But listen, in the meantime, if there is any way that we can assist you or pray with you, would you reach out to us at help@bridgewoodchurch.com, and we would love to be able to come alongside of you. Right now, we are one church in many places and spaces, and we are ready to bring an amazing experience to you today. So are you ready? So why don't you do this? Crank up the volume, get your kids off of the couch and up in the room, lean your heart in right now, and let's get ready to worship the Lord together. Let's just invite His presence into this experience right now. So God, we open up our hearts and we welcome you to speak to us today during this experience. God, would you receive our worship? And God, would you right now in this moment speak and meet people exactly where they are. In Jesus' name, amen. Come on, let's worship together.
In all your glory, turn my eyes to my heart to sing and wonder of how you love me. To my heart, oh. its pieces, broken and scattered, in mercy gathered, mended and whole, empty-handed, but not forsaken. I've been set free. I've been set free. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Whoa, I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see you now. I can see the love in your eyes. Lay yourself down, raising up the broken to life. Oh, you raise the broken to life. Come and move alive. You bring beauty from every dead thing. You take our failures, you take our weakness. You set your treasure in jars of clay. So take this heart, Lord, I'll be your vessel, the world to see your life in me. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see you now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes. Laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life. You're lifting up the broken. You raise every broken thing to lie in your righteousness. You give beauty
Well, once again, welcome to Bridgewood Church Online. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today from wherever you're watching. And man, I hope that time of worship that we just shared together just tuned you up, inspired you, got you ready to receive a word from God today. And if you don't know me, my name is Caleb. I'm one of the pastors here at Bridgewood, and I have the privilege of leading this church in worship every week. And I love it. It's amazing. And I get to do that with my beautiful wife, Michaela. And we're the proud parents of 1-year-old twin girls, Karis and Nora. And so as you can imagine, life is pretty chaotic these days. They're keeping us busy, and we're just praying and trying not to ruin them. So if you have any tips, maybe drop those in the comments. But we're just doing the best we can to raise them, and we're loving every second of it. And today I get to do something a little bit differently, stepping out from behind the guitar. And I have the opportunity to bring a message from God's word to you today. So Pastor Kurt, thank you for giving me the opportunity. And man, I'm just excited. I'm honored to be able to bring this word today. And if you've been tracking with us for any length of time, you know that we just wrapped up this series last week called Transitions, where we looked at Paul in the book of Acts chapter 27 as he's on this missionary journey. He's living out the mission that God has called him to, and he's transitioning from one place to the next to bring the gospel of hope and peace, the gospel of Jesus, to those who don't know it. And as he's doing that, living out the will of God for his life, bam, they encounter this violent, epic storm, and he's shipwrecked. And I think that's really relevant for where we're at right now, isn't it? Because it kind of feels like we're all shipwrecked. We're on this course, we're on this journey of life, and out of nowhere, everything starts to kind of fall apart. And I don't think I need to convince you, probably now more than ever, that control is an illusion. It's an illusion. And maybe before all of this stuff happened, you felt like you were out at sea on this sailboat, steering it wherever you wanted to go, watching the sunset, enjoying the beautiful creation that God has given us. And now you realize, man, this ocean is untamable. The waves are roaring. The lightning is smacking against the water. And I realize I don't have control anymore. Like, I can't steer this thing. And so we realized that. And I think one of the most powerful points that Pastor Kurt made last week, I know it stuck with me, is when he said that we can't control the outcome of the storm, but we can control the outlook. So what we've been trying to do is to discern, how do we navigate these uncertain times that we're living in? How can we hear the voice of God in the midst of the chaos? And I love the way that C.S. Lewis, I love the way that he puts it. He says, God whispers to us in our pleasures. So when things are going well, he's whispering. His voice is like a whisper. He speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It's his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Man, just picture that. Picture God with a megaphone in the midst of all of this chaos. And we want to hear his voice. And thankfully, I believe that the message that he's shouting to us, it's a message of hope. I want to deliver a message of hope today from the Word of God. And so we're going to stick with Paul, actually, a little bit longer. And we're going to dive into the book of 2 Corinthians. So if you have a Bible, go ahead and find it, grab it, open it to the book of 2 Corinthians. I'm going to go there with you. And we're going to stick with Paul for a couple of reasons, okay? Number one, he had a lifetime supply of suffering. Okay, so we see that in his story, we see that in his writings, but he also, at the same time, in spite of all that suffering, had a message of hope to give. A life of faith in the midst of that suffering. And when you see that paradox, when you see that tension lived out in someone's life, it gets your attention, doesn't it? I mean, during this whole stay-at-home thing, maybe you're like me and you're catching up on some series, some Netflix, some documentaries, what have you, The Last Dance, right? But before all that came out, we watched this documentary called The Innocence Files that just came out on Netflix. And it documents the story of this organization called the Innocence Project, which helps exonerate innocent people who've been in prison wrongfully, unjustly, who are maybe even on death row, but have been sitting in prison for years and years, sometimes decades, their life wasting away for something they didn't do. And one of the most fascinating things about it for me watching was the demeanor, the attitude, the message of the people who have been affected the most by this injustice. Just because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time or looked like what an eyewitness said the suspect looked like. And you would expect someone who's been wronged so deeply, who's had everything stripped from them, their life taken away from them, to be hardened and bitter and upset and angry. And we would expect that. We feel that for them when we watch. But yet, what's so interesting is that all of these people that they document through the series, they just have this demeanor of peace, this forgiveness that they're willing to extend to those who have hurt them. And so when people respond that way to life, especially in the midst of suffering, man, it makes me want to lean in, and I think and I hope it makes you want to lean in too. Because maybe we can learn something from that. Maybe we can pull something from that we can apply to our situation. So when we're in the middle of this shipwreck, we know how to navigate through it by the grace of God and not despair. And I see the same thing in Paul's life. We already know about the shipwrecks, but think about it. The slander he had to endure, the false accusations, the betrayal of those he trusted, the vicious, brutal beatings, the many, many, many imprisonments, all the time he spent in a jail cell. I mean, this guy went through it over and over and over again, a lifetime supply, decades and decades of this stuff, sickness, affliction, persecution. This was Paul's way of life. And yet the words that he speaks to us come from such an unexpected perspective based on his experience. So look at what he says in chapter 4, verse 16. In the context of all this affliction, this persecution, this suffering that he's enduring, he says, "So we do not lose heart." But these aren't my words. These are the words of someone who has suffered far beyond our comprehension. So what we need to figure out is how and why. How and why someone who's gone through what Paul has gone through can say something as profound as that in the midst of it. So what we're going to see over the next few verses here is Paul is going to outline this cycle that all of us are in, whether we recognize it or not. And this is what it is: reality, revelation, and response. This cycle that perpetuates over and over again. Reality, what is that? Just my understanding of my experience. What's happening around me? Revelation, this is information that's being downloaded to me that I accept as truth, that shapes my perception of what's happening. And then response, it's what I'm doing in light of that revelation that then perpetuates my reality. So maybe this is a scenario that'll sound familiar to you, okay? So for example, reality. I'm anxious because of what is going on in the world around me. I'm feeling anxiety. My reality is anxiousness, it's isolation. Revelation. So I turn on the news to get the latest information about what's going on to inform myself, and it's revealed to me that all of the stores are going out of all of these supplies. People are running to the stores and hoarding all of this stuff that I need. Response, man, so then I jump in the car, I run to the store, put my mask on, and get as much hand sanitizer and toilet paper that I can get to get me through the apocalypse. You see that? Reality, revelation, and response. So we're going to start again in verse 16. This is Paul's reality. Let's see what he says here. He says, "Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day." Reality. What I love here, what stands out to me the most, is that Paul isn't sugarcoating anything. He's saying outwardly, I'm decaying. You know, sometimes I think we have this perception that we have to pretend like everything's okay, or that we have to have this glass half full mentality. The suffering, the grief, the loss, what have you, man, it's not that bad. It's all right, I can deal with it. But that's not what Paul's doing here. He's saying, no, on the outside, it's bad. Like, I know it looks really bad. I'm falling apart here. And he says as much. Just a page back in chapter 1 in verse 8, listen to what he says here. He says, "We were so utterly burdened beyond our strength that we despaired of life itself. Indeed, we felt that we had received the sentence of death." I mean, that's pretty heavy stuff. That's serious. And so Paul isn't washing that away. Paul isn't making light of that. He's acknowledging, yeah, on the outside, the beatings, the imprisonments, the persecution, it's not fun, and it's real, and I feel every ounce of it. I feel it. But what does he say right after that? Our inner self is being renewed day by day. Yeah, what's happening on the outside is really bad, but what's going on in the inside trumps everything else. So it's as if he's saying, yeah, I have the daily troubles that Jesus promises me. In Matthew 6:34, where he says, each day has enough trouble for itself, but I also have the promise of Lamentations 3:22, where it says, the love of the Lord is everlasting. His mercies are new every morning. Daily troubles, but daily mercies. And for Paul, the reality of the daily mercies outweighed the daily troubles. So that's a choice that we have to make. Are we going to choose to fixate on the outward reality that's going on around us that's outside of our control, or are we going to look at what God is doing on the inside of us through it? That's the choice that we have to make, and that's what Paul is inviting us into. That's why he doesn't lose heart. Okay, so that's the working reality we have. Let's look at the revelation. Verse 17. For this light, momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. This light, momentary affliction. Sounds like an oxymoron to me. I don't know about you, but when I think about suffering, when I think about affliction, it's anything but light and momentary. It's more like heavy, and it goes on and on and on forever. I mean, think about a time when you were sick in bed, right? In agony and pain, and usually my prayer is something like this: God, either heal me or kill me right now. I can't take it anymore. I'm dying here. And the time just ticks by so slowly, doesn't it? It feels like an hour has passed and you're just praying you can barrel through the night, and every time you look at the clock, it's been 5 minutes. It's agony. I think about flying on a plane. Usually I'm riding coach, all right? I'm in economy, I'm not in first class. And these long flights where you're trying to get some rest, trying to sleep, and it's so uncomfortable. And I'm just praying, God, would the pilot just please come on and say we're making our descent? But every time I look at my watch, it's been 5 minutes. And I've got hours and hours to go, and I'm like, man, I just cannot wait for this to be over. You know, one of the blessings in disguise of being at home right now is that I just get to spend a lot more time with my kids, my family. And we just celebrated our girl's first birthday. They're 13 months old now, and so, man, they're trying to walk a little bit. They're trying to talk. It's all gibberish, but it's super cute. Their personalities are blossoming. They're coming to life. It's so fun. But something that I'm learning about kids, maybe more intimately than I ever have before, but I think we can all see this, we can all agree that kids just have a flair for the dramatic. Like, I love my girls, they're amazing, but they're drama queens. Like, it doesn't take much to just set them off and cause this meltdown of epic proportions that happen over a stolen pacifier, or me taking away something that they're never supposed to have in the first place, or a missed nap, what have you. Man, it's insane. It's dramatic. I think we've all seen or been a part of these temper tantrums in the grocery store, right? Where a kid is just freaking out. They're melting down, and the parent is just trying to calm and console them. Maybe that's you, and you're having PTSD right now. I'm sorry, but it's real, isn't it? And we see that happen. And the thing is, there's nothing rational about it. There's nothing logical about it. You can't reason with a child in that emotional state that they're in. But the thing that I think is so true that we can't overlook is that it's real for them. The pain they're feeling, the grief, the agony they're feeling, it's so real for them. And honestly, sometimes I just sit back and laugh a little bit. It's kind of comical. It's funny because I know, as the mature adult in the room, that they're going to be okay. Like, they're not going to die because their bottle got stolen, or their bottle's empty, or their pacifier got stolen, and they got bit on the arm, or whatever it is, right? They're not going to die. They're going to be okay. And so my job as the dad isn't really to try to rationalize with them, especially at this age, right? You can't reason with a 13-month-old, but I come along and I just want to comfort, to bring reassurance that, hey, it's going to be all right. And on top of that, 5 minutes from now, they're not even going to remember that ever happened. I mean, think about the memory of babies, of kids even, right? Little kids, infants, toddlers. Think about the earliest memory that you have, and think about how old you were. Just drop that in the comments just because I'm super curious. I doubt it was 13 months. If it was, I want to know. I want to talk. But let's be honest, we don't remember these crucial formative years of our lives. We watch these meltdowns happen with all these other kids, but the reality is we've all been there. We were all babies and infants and toddlers at one point having these meltdowns, losing control. How much agony did we experience through those first few years of our lives, at least to us? And yet we don't even remember it. And so I'm sitting there on the couch a couple weeks ago watching one of these meltdowns take place, and the thought hit me. I wonder if this is what I look like to God. I wonder if this is what we look like to our Father. See, we're experiencing real affliction, real pain. To us, it's real. It hurts. It's agony. But our minds are so finite, we can't even comprehend what our Father in heaven sees, what He knows. And so maybe He sees us in our affliction. He sees us in the midst of our pain. He sees us in crisis mode. And yet He doesn't freak out. He's not panicking. He's not worried because He knows, hey, it's going to be okay. He's the adult in the room. And I wonder, when we get to the other side of this life and we're in eternity, if the things that happen to us in this life, the things that we experienced, will be like a blurry memory in the light of eternity. I think that's what Paul is saying here. I think that's what he's alluding to when he says that our affliction, it's light and momentary. He's not making light of the affliction in and of itself. It's very real. Some of you watching right now, you are suffering. You've suffered astronomical loss. You've gone through grief and pain and hurt. Some of you are suffering with depression and anxiety and isolation and loneliness. That's real. God sees you and He weeps with you. He offers His peace and His comfort to you. But you need to know that in the light of eternal glory, all of that is as nothing. That's what He's saying. This light, momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory. It's as if He's saying, take all of your affliction, all of your suffering, all the grief, all the mourning, and put it on one end of the scale, and then take the weight of eternal glory far beyond all comparison and put it on the other side and see just how light that affliction really is. That's the perspective that He's inviting us to take. And so the question is, where are you getting your revelation from? I think a lot of us, we're like babies in this metaphor, right? Getting our revelation from other babies. Fortunately, I get to see this play out because I have two of them. And so when one of them starts crying, for some reason, the other one will just start crying. Like for no apparent reason, nothing happened to them, they're okay, but just seeing the other one freak out causes them to freak out. You know what I'm talking about? And I think that's kind of like us. We're getting all of our revelation from people around us. The news, social media. People are despairing. People are losing heart. People are freaking out. And so that's what we're responding to. If we're not getting our revelation from this book, if we're not getting our revelation from the Creator of the universe who sees us and loves us and knows us, has a plan for us, then we're in big trouble. And we have a choice to make. There really is only one revelation, one true revelation, but we've chosen so often that we only want God's peace. We don't want His perspective. That's the choice that we need to make. God, I don't want you just to comfort me and reassure me. I want you to give me your eyes so I can see things the way that you do, so I can navigate this storm, this season by your grace, with your strength. I need your perspective. I need your revelation. I need to know that everything that I'm enduring, everything I'm experiencing is as nothing compared to the glory that's to come, to the glory that's being prepared for me through this. I love what it says in 1 Corinthians 2, where it says, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has imagined what God has in store for those who love Him. So that brings us to the response. The response in verse 18. He says, we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. So his reality is, man, I'm being renewed inside day by day, even though outside it's all falling apart. And I understand the revelation I've received. Everything I'm going through, It's light and it's momentary. It's passing by. It's like a vapor compared to the glory that it's preparing for me to come in eternity. And so in response to that, I'm not going to pay attention to what's going on around me. I'm not going to fixate on this affliction. I'm going to fixate on the promise. I'm going to fix all of my attention on what I can't see. That's how he didn't lose heart. He looked at what he couldn't see. Now that sounds kind of strange, doesn't it? But I want you to see this image behind me on the screen. It's there for a reason. You see this desert, right? And I imagine that this desert is kind of like our life right now. It's hot, it's dry, it's uncomfortable, we're sweating, we're suffering. And then we see this image of an oasis in the distance. So in this desert, we can choose our reality. We can choose to let the desert be all there is, or we can have it be revealed to us that, man, there is a promise on the other side, and then we can respond by moving in that direction. That's eternity. Nothing is promised to us in this life, but that is eternity. We have these 70, 80 years at best right on this life, if we're lucky. Maybe more, probably less. But we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. I walk by faith and not by sight. As it says right here in 5:7, I choose to look at the world around me through the eyes of faith, which perpetuates this reality, this hope, this joy, because I see the oasis in the midst of the desert that I'm in. So we have the choice today. We can choose to despair, to lose heart, because all we see is what we feel around us on the outside. The news is bad. The reports are dreary. We hear it all the time. It's bombarding us left and right. But we have this revelation. We have the promise that we can put our hope and our trust in, to look with the eyes of faith to what we can't see. I mean, this is what Jesus did. That's what it says in Hebrews chapter 12. It says that for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. It's as if he could see to the other side of what that suffering was going to do. It wasn't fun to hang on that cross. It was agonizing. But for the joy to come, man, he endured it. And that's the paradox of the cross. That's the paradox of Paul's life. Glorious exaltation through suffering and death. So man, we accept that. That's how we don't lose heart. We accept the fact that, yeah, I'm wasting away on the outside. I think some of us are trying so hard to hold on tightly to our lives on this earth. It's everything to us. So that means everything that happens to us, it's not light and momentary. It's the end all be all. It's everything. And what we would be called to do today is to see it for what it is. It's preparing us for something so much better. And whether you try to keep it or not, you're going to lose your life. This life on earth is fleeting. But we have our hope set in eternity on the things to come that God is preparing for us. And so maybe today you're a follower of Jesus. But man, when you take inventory of your heart, of your mind, you realize I have been so wrecked and so affected by all the noise, by the outside reality of what's going on. And I've allowed that to dictate my response to what I'm going through. Repent of that today. Make a choice to turn away from that way of thinking, to looking at what you can see, which is transient, and look at what you can't see, the promise that's eternal, that's everlasting, putting your hope in the fact that God is doing something on the inside. He's using everything you go through. None of it is meaningless. It's preparing for you this eternal glory with Him forever. And so you can look to the things that are unseen. And maybe you don't know Jesus at all. And all of your hope has been put in the reality of this life, this world, is all you have. But you've never acknowledged the eternal things that you can't see, that God is working together for your good. If you'll surrender to Him if you'll believe in him, if you'll trust in him. And the truth is, like Paul says in 1 Corinthians, that if Christ wasn't raised from the dead, then we are to be pitied more than anyone on the earth. Like, my life is a waste. If Jesus didn't raise from the dead, then what's the point of putting my hope in all of this stuff? But if he did, then I'm going to rise with him. I'm going to be victorious with him. His victory is my victory. His life is now my life. And I'm putting all my eggs in that basket. That's what Paul did. That's what he's inviting us to do. That's what I'm inviting you to do. So from wherever you're watching right now, would you just close your eyes with me? Let's just invite God into this moment. Maybe for the first time, inviting him to be in complete control of your life and to redefine your reality, to give you fresh revelation and to lead you into a response of following him into that eternal glory that he has promised for us. So God, we come before you now, and first of all, those of us who follow you, who know you, we repent from allowing ourselves to be inundated and influenced by the noise of the world around us. The noise of the world that says this life is all there is and it's going down, abandoned ship. Anxiety, fear is crippling and gripping us. But God, we choose in this moment to fixate on the reality that's going on the inside of those who put their trust and hope in you. God, on the revelation that you're coming back for us, that this life isn't all there is, that everything we're going through is light and momentary, preparing us for a future with you, and so we can look to the promise. We can hope in the promise, and we choose that right now. God, and I pray for the one who doesn't know you. I pray that you would not only comfort them with your peace, but that you would illuminate their heart, their mind with your perspective. Help them to see a new reality in the midst of the chaos going on around them, that you are working on the inside. God, that you have new mercies every day to sustain us through the difficulty of this life. God, that you're preparing for them an eternal weight of glory, far beyond what they can comprehend. God, would you help them to see what they can't see with the eyes of faith, believing in who you are, making the best investment they could possibly make by investing in eternity with you, trusting in you, surrendering to you, giving over their whole lives to you. And we pray for that in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. We're going to respond, all of us, right now from wherever you're watching, with a song that just invites us in response to all this to take courage, to trust in the one who holds the stars, who calls them each by name, that he's going to keep his promise to us. And then we're going to rise in victory with him in the end of it all. So worship with us.
Slow down, take time, breathe in, he said. He'll reveal what's to come. The thoughts in his mind, always higher than mine. He'll reveal all to come. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Sing praise, my soul. Find strength in joy. Let his words lead you on. Do not forget. Do not forget his great faithfulness. He'll finish all he's begun. Sing, take courage.
Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failed. We sing, take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Oh, hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing.
In you who hold the stars, who call them each by name, oh, you'll surely keep your promise to me that I will rise in your victory. You hold, and you who hold the stars, who call them each by name, you'll surely keep your promise to me that I will rise in your victory. Oh, take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Oh, hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Oh, hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Oh, he's never failing. He's never failing. He's never failing. He's never failing.
And turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace.
Thank you so much, Caleb, for that inspiring and hopeful message that we just heard. And listen, I'm really excited about those of you that just prayed that prayer a few moments ago. And I want you to know, if you prayed that prayer, I want you to do something right now. I want you to text the word follow to the number that is on your screen. And you know, one of the things that we love the most is helping people to take their next steps on this new journey with Jesus. So if you text that word follow, we're ready right now to send you some information that is going to help you not only get connected to Bridgewood Church, but also to begin taking some next steps. And I believe it's going to be the most important decision that you have ever made in your life. Listen, if there is any way that we can assist you right now, or pray for you, you can always email us at help@bridgewoodchurch.com, and we're ready to minister to you. Well, listen, we have just launched our virtual life groups, and you're not going to want to miss it. For the next 6 weeks, we would love for you to join one of our online virtual life groups. And the reason that this is so important is because this is going to help prepare us to re-engage and come back together in our live experiences. So make sure you go to bridgewoodchurch.com, check out our life group directory, find a group, and get plugged in this week. I just want you to know how blown away I am at the generosity and the giving of Bridgewood Church over these last 8 to 9 weeks. Because of your generosity, we have been able to give away so many needed resources to not only people right here in our city, but to people that are around the world. And so Bridgewood, thank you so much for your giving every single week. Right now on the screen, you'll see several different ways that you can give online. And just know this, that your giving is truly making an impact right now. And so as you give, thank you so much for allowing us to do what we do each and every week. Listen, if you have kids, you're not going to want to miss the Bridgewood Kids Experience that happens on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. So make sure your kids are up, get them pumped and ready to join Pastor Dallas and the amazing team of kids workers as they bring an online experience just for our kids. So this week, we want to connect with you as much as we can. So be sure to check out our online schedule. And know this, that we miss you so much and we love you all. Thanks so much for joining with us this week online.